Oh, hey Emily, so funny running into you here. This is the same joke I opened with last week. This is The Swamp. It's our podcast, and it's also an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And the reason why it's so funny to run into you here is because we already recorded this whole episode. But did we?
I did see you about 24 hours ago, and we thought we had this all boxed up, packaged away, ready to be edited and then released. And then we looked at the footage and we listened to the audio, and that is quite far from the case.
I have no respect for myself. And I'm willing to embarrass myself on the internet, but I have some respect for the people, you beautiful people who for some reason decide to listen to this whack-ass fucking podcast that we put out. And I'm sorry, but it was just not up to our standards. I think if this was a year ago, I would have just run it and
easily
put it out. But now that more than 2 people listen, I had said the same point like 6 times in a row, and it was not even a good one. And I was like, at this point, but we were so drunk. That was the reason. Emily made cocktails that were just a little bit too fire.
Well, we were together for the first time in like 5 months, basically. We met up in the old stomping grounds in Massachusetts. And we had a lovely charcuterie board made by my sister and our friend Juliet. Shout out to those two, because it was absolutely gas. Some of you probably saw it on our Instagram story. But we also made high ABV cocktails and thought that we could handle them. And we said, we've been doing this for over a year. We know what we're doing. Absolutely not the case.
In that moment, I knew I was drunk, but I didn't know I was belligerent until I went back and I watched that footage, and I simply said, my eyes were closed for the last 30 minutes. And we're trying to be visual people now, so it just was not...
Yeah. I was gonna say,
but anyways.
Well, here's the thing, is we recorded that, and maybe it is a shock to you all, maybe it isn't a shock to you all. I have been much drunker recording this podcast before than I thought I was that night, but this was a wake-up call. Maybe I'm getting old, maybe I can't handle my liquor like I could a year or so ago. But yeah, if you didn't know, we do be drinking during this podcast.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
I'm not that smart, but I'm also not that funny, so I gotta fuel, one end of the stick or something. Is that a saying? I don't know. But we're re-recording this because I was just too embarrassed to have you guys see me like that.
Also, you can see us like this. You don't get to know us that intimately yet, but if ever the day comes that we decide to monetize any content and we have something up on like Patreon or something like that, you can give us $10 and then we'll release the drunk cut.
I know, we were trying to think if there was a good cause that we could put this horrible Ruby Sparks episode behind a paywall. If raise some money for a good cause, but it just...
Or have like some medical thing that you need paid for, or anything like that.
But nobody's gonna pay to watch our shitty Ruby Sparks episode.
I would like to think that you guys want to get to know me that intimately. Maybe that's just me having an ego. But I enjoy the company of drunk people. If I'm drunk, get drunk with us and watch the podcast. Who needs...
So maybe someday.
Does someone need, like, top surgery? Like, if you have... you let us know and we'll start, GoFundMe for you with our drunk episode.
But also, the reason, though, because a lot of other podcasts do put stuff behind. I
don't need to make money.
They'll do bonus. They do like bonus episodes and stuff, and I do subscribe to a couple of podcasts, like to get monthly bonus episodes. But I don't think this is worth anything. I don't want to charge people for this. It's
like
not
I said,
that
I need
good,
a cause. I need a cause. If someone has something that they need, like your housing for college or something like that, I'll give you maybe if 10 people buy this episode for $10, I'll send you $100. It's not going to help you with your housing very much. It's going to buy you 1% of it.
You can get an air fryer.
Exactly. But I love you guys.
I need to pay for my own housing.
I love you guys enough that I want to help you if my drunk rambling can do that.
So maybe
I just have like
I just
have a super inflated ego right now. I'm like, no, buy my content so I can help you. I just think it'd be
but like we won't. We refuse to run ads for like the sanctity of the pod, but we will put the drunk Ruby Sparks episodes up to help somebody get top surgery. Like I think that is the foundation on which this podcast could be monetized.
Exactly. Someone reach out if you need something. I'll put it up.
But we cannot guarantee.
I can't guarantee. Yeah, there's no guarantee of any money. But anyways, this is our Ruby Sparks podcast
episode. Yeah, and this is our finale, our grand finale. We had to do it twice, covering Ruby Sparks for the end of Paul MAYno month, and I think this is a good way to end it because they are together and they do this movie together. It was kind of a thing that she wrote it and then they star in it together, and she definitely like wrote it with the two of them in mind to be, you know, those two characters. So I just think this is a really sweet little cherry on top to end our Paul
I think it's funny that we're recording it twice because it did take us about 4 hours to watch a hour and 30-minute movie because we just kept getting sidetracked. It's a 104-minute film, and I think we started it at like 10 o'clock and we didn't finish until 2 a.m. Yeah, basically.
Like, fully.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on, that cheese board. Sometimes you have to pause the film because the snack is so good.
It was a lot.
They're like, I need to devote 100% of my attention to this snack.
Yeah, we'll talk about what we ate more, but it was really good. Yeah, shout out to Alyssa, Julia, and also my mom. My mom did get and gather and create the board. It was absolutely lovely. It was the best snack I've eaten while watching a movie in a while. I do think normally I'd say we perform better when we're in person, but this was
too good. It was too indulgent.
Yeah, we went all in.
But we did do 2 in a row, so next week you will actually get to see us be together, and we weren't drunk for that one, so hopefully that'll make up for it. So next week it'll be like it's the past but also the future.
Yeah, we're jumping time a little bit, but
it's sort of a multiverse of madness situation. If you ask me, we're sort of jumping around the timeline. We're sort of wormholing through wormholes.
Can we
But speaking of holes,
I was gonna say, can we everything everywhere all at once instead of multiverse of madness?
Yeah, right. I don't think we're of that standard.
No.
I don't think we're
I'm not that good
quality.
yet.
But Ruby Sparks, so we did want to thank a couple of people. I thanked them about 15 million times, drunkenly and slurredly the first time around, but I do want to repeat for the final time. Thank you to the people who requested that we do this movie, because we were originally going to do There Will Be Blood, and then the minute somebody requested some other Paul MAYno movie, I was like, yes, any excuse to not watch a Paul Thomas Anderson movie that's 4 fucking hours long. So, and I think that this is going to provide a much more interesting discussion than an episode about There Will Be Blood. I know a lot of y'all are like film people and maybe you would have liked it, but
I'm not going to talk about oil.
Yeah, I don't know much about fracking other than RuPaul. So
we said we just talked about the bludgeoning scene and that's about it.
Right,
yeah.
And like Paul MAYno's great in it, but I'm more excited to talk about.
I was going to say, as much as we have a handful of film people that listen to this podcast, I think this very much is more in the vein of who you are as an audience. And who we also are as podcasters.
And especially because it was more than one person. It was 2 or 3 people who actually were like, oh, you're going to do Ruby Sparks? You should do Ruby Sparks. And I had never seen it.
Me neither.
I had never heard of it. And then the minute I Googled it and saw that it was Zoe Kazan and Paul MAYno together, I was like, wow, that's crazy. I never knew that they did anything together.
It must have been so fun to be like 5 years deep in a relationship and do this movie together. Like, it must have been like incredibly just a good ass time, but at the same time,
except for like when they're like portraying the most toxic and horrible of relationships.
True. I feel like it must have been a good time, but also like I feel like it could be a little emotionally demanding.
Tough.
Actors do be acting; it is still their job. Yeah, it's like, could you imagine your significant other like coming to work with you? Like, do you think you could go to work with Henry? Do you think you could be able to do it?
Well, he doesn't have a job, so
yes. Okay. Well, there's that.
Right now. We're actually, if anyone can see my incredibly messy kitchen with boxes, I'm in the process of moving. So hopefully new scenery to come. Not that we've been visual very long for you to know anything about me, but I'm getting out of fucking shithole bumfuck upstate New York. I'm sorry if you're from upstate New York. I've only been here for a year, but fuck this fucking shithole of a place, and I'm ready to get out, and I am. So anyone in the greater Portland, Maine area wants to be my friend, slide into our DMs. But please be an adult. I don't want to hang out with kids.
We love you, but, like, I can't hang out with you if you're 16 years old. That's just...
Like, on just a moral principle.
Yeah, no. But do we want to give a recap of this movie to anyone who, like us, had never seen it before?
So I would say, like, on the most basic of scales, it's this character named Calvin, who's played by Paul MAYno. He's a writer, and he wrote this really profound book when he was pretty young. I think they said he was 19 or something, and he wrote this book, and it got really famous, and they were calling it, like, a great American novel, which I think that's only something you say about, like, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, Mark Twain.
Like right? So he wrote this really incredibly well-received book when he was very young, and then since then he's really struggled with writing because he, you know, had such great success at a young age and a lot of, like, personal trauma, or not trauma, but just, you know, the mental health of, like, getting kind of famous for something you're not even sure you're, like, really good at, or, like, also, I don't know, he's struggling to find inspiration, basically, about what his next project should be, and there's a lot of expectations on him as a writer, and he does go to therapy, which, typically, as a man, that's a green flag, but in this case, it pales in comparison to the huge red flags that this man has.
I'd like to give it to him, but I can't. It's not enough.
And so he is basically struggling pretty socially. He doesn't really get outside of his very small social circle, which is essentially just his brother and his brother's wife. And he starts to write this character. His therapist says, write a story about someone who sees your dog in the park and they like your dog and they spark a conversation with you. Write a story about it. And then maybe that will sort of serve as some sort of, you know, confidence booster for you to be more social with people out in public. And so he writes this story about this girl who comes and sees his dog, and he's like, wait, that's my dream girl. And now I'm gonna write this whole character about this girl. Her name's Ruby Sparks. Her middle name is Tiffany. She's a little quirky. She's from Ohio. She's got her flaws, but she's perfect for me. And so he writes all this stuff about Ruby, basically until he, like, writes her into existence, basically.
She becomes, like, a living, breathing person, essentially.
Yeah, so she just appears in his house, and she's, like, cooking breakfast in her underwear. She's like, haha, Calvin, you're so funny. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm going insane. Because this is the girl from my story, and now she's here. And so he thinks he's going nuts, and he tells his brother, and he's like, I can see this person who's not real, whatever. And he's like, well, just go on a date, or, like, go talk to somebody who you know is real to, like, ground yourself. And so he goes out with... What's that actress's name? I know
Aaliyah Shawkat?
Yeah, she plays Maybe in Arrested Development, and then she also has, like, a really good episode of Broad City where her and Alana are, like, but, so he goes out on a date with her, and then Ruby shows up, and is like, this is my boyfriend Calvin, and throws a drink in his face, and he's basically like, holy shit, can everyone else see her too? And they're like, yeah, we can see her, like, she's causing a scene. And so then he basically realizes that she is a real person, and he, you know, kind of confirms by, like, bringing her around to his brother and being like, can you see her? And he's like, yes. So it's confirmed Ruby is a real person, and as he writes her, she becomes more of a developed person, and so he writes her to be, like, really confident and independent, but then when she starts behaving in ways that he doesn't like, he writes her to be more clingy, and then she becomes insanely clingy. So it's like he gets to control, like, sort of her entire existence. Like, he basically is God to her. And they have this, like, incredibly toxic relationship where it's, like, really, what is it? Symbiotic? Is that a word?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Symbiosis. Symbiosis is when the clownfish goes into the reef.
Yeah, yeah.
But what's it called when it's two people?
Parasitic.
Parasitic! Yeah.
When it's horrible? Yeah.
So, yeah, it's, like, really parasitic, I guess, toxic in that way, and it basically comes crashing where she is like, I want to leave you because I don't love you, you don't love me, like, this just isn't working. And he's like, you can't break up with me, I literally control everything you do. And she's like, fuck off. And then he starts writing, like, Ruby jumps, Ruby does jumping jacks, Ruby does this, and he basically proves to her, like, I'm in control of you, you're not a real person. And then at the very end, he writes, Ruby is free, and she kind of gets released from his clutches because he wrote it into existence. And then he publishes this book titled The Girlfriend, which is his next big successful book. And then he bumps into her or, you know, somebody who looks exactly like her, but that we would perceive probably to be her at the park, and she's reading his book, and they have a cute little meet cute, and he's like, ha ha ha, I won't spoil it, but like, obviously we all know that that was her, but now that she's free, she has no memory, so she now just gets to be her own sentient person,
it's also like,
which is good for her.
It's also like, was she even real kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of ambiguous enough that you're like, meh, and it's also like, I watched this yesterday, so I haven't formed my own.
My opinion is that he released her and that she's her own sentient being and that she just had no recollection of their encounters at all, and that was him actually meeting her in the park. But I don't trust him. It was kind of honestly a happy ending for Calvin.
I don't want that.
I don't trust that.
I didn't want that.
I don't trust that motherfucker to not be shitty and manipulative again. Like, it's supposed to be like he learned his lesson, like he freed her and that was him like learning his lesson. But like, no, I think he's still kind of a piece of shit.
No, this movie, and I know we talked about this when we first recorded it, it's very 500 Days of Summer for me.
Oh, for sure.
Which, like, also sort of ends with, like, that happy ending of, like, oh god, what's his name? I don't know.
He meets another girl.
Yeah,
Autumn.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt has realized that, like, summer was never his, and and then he goes and he meets Autumn. Yeah, no, it's, like, it's very, which obviously, like, is the movie that this was like, maybe not the specific movie, but, like, that's the movie that immediately comes to mind when I think of, like, what this film is playing off of, and the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and like the terribly toxic man.
And I love that she wrote this, and it's so apparent to me as a viewer that it's satire about those kinds of movies, and about, I'm sure, how she as an actress encountered a lot of shitty male writers in Hollywood who did write these movies like 500 Days of Summer and these other, like, she's quirky and she's perfect and she's messy, but she's also sexy. And it's just like, that's just not, like, it's just gross, right? Like, men writing women.
Yeah, that's no one.
Women writing women. Right, and so I love that she wrote this clearly about, it's herself. She wrote, you know, this about a character that a man creates who is just not even plausibly a real person.
Oh, no.
Because of how insanely just, like, unhuman he makes her. That's his dream girl, right? Is she's somebody who, like, never lets go of my hand, but also is independent and fierce, but never wants to leave my side. Like, fuck that. And it's crazy to me that I was reading some interviews, because this movie came out in 2012, which I think was pretty peak Manic Pixie Dream Girl. Like, I'm gonna say it was, like, late 90s, kind of really in the early 2000s, well, and then this is around the time when it really was, like...
I feel like it really started with, like... It's so funny, because a lot of people, I think, trace, like, the Manic Pixie Dream Girl thing back to, oh god, what's it called? It's Jim Carrey and, Eternal Sunshine. I feel like a lot of people...
I thought you were gonna say Cameron Diaz. I'm like, The Mask?
Yeah, Jim Carrey was the Manic Pixie Dream Girl in The Mask. Yeah. No, but I definitely feel like a lot of, which, like, it's so funny too, because, like, I feel like that's, like, a very, like, traceable thing, but also she in that movie is like, I'm not your Manic Pixie Dream Girl. I'm just my own fucked up person. I'm not your, like, peace of mind, or, you know, the whole, like, big saying, that big scene.
Yeah, and that's crazy because that movie was self-aware.
That movie was self-aware, but, like, so many people read it wrong. So many men saw that movie and read it so wrong, and they were like, I want her. And all that shit, and then it just kept going, and it's been a vicious cycle, or at least through the early 2000s.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy because clearly people misread this movie too, because I was watching interviews of the two of them, of Zoe Kazan and Paul MAYno together, getting interviewed about this movie, and they were all like, oh, like, did you base this off of your relationship? Like, was there any truth in these characters?
No!
Do you think, is he a little bit like Calvin? Are you a little bit like Ruby? And I'm like, why the fuck would you ask that? It's clearly not about a real relationship. It's about the worst kind of relationship.
Like, did you even watch the movie?
Yeah, right. At that point, they're like, oh, a married couple starring in a rom-com. Just ask them if it's based on a real life.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Like, it was blowing my mind, some of the questions they were asking her about, like, yeah, if this was grounded in any truth for the two of them. And I'm like, why would...
Where?
Like, that's just...
What, she cooks a meatloaf?
I love this man, his dream woman. I don't think she can read. Like,
No.
I don't think
Definitely not.
Ruby Sparks he's an author and his dream girl isn't illiterate. Like, not to say that she comes off as unintelligent or anything, but
like he
he
just forgot to like write that part of her.
Write that in. He's like, honestly, it's for the best. It's like, let's keep her at a 3rd grade education. Housewife duties only, but she will swim in a pool with all her clothes on because that's what I look for in a woman.
Yeah.
Spontaneous. But no, they're like a little meet cute that they have. So basically when his story that he writes about her seeing his dog like comes to life, his dog is named Scotty after F. Scott Fitzgerald. And he's like, F. Scott Fitzgerald. And she's like, who? And I'm like, nobody in America who's graduated high school does not know who F. Scott Fitzgerald is. I'm sorry. Maybe that's just me being an asshole.
Yeah. But... maybe it's because we went to school in Massachusetts, but...
yeah. Maybe Paul MAYno's from Central Mass, and because we have a really great education system.
He reads like he was.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that man. I know that.
Yeah.
Man. Like, I know a few guys like that.
But yeah, no, his perfect woman is at home in her underwear making him meatloaf. Cannot read.
Oh, yeah, cannot read, cannot physically leave the house without
but makes
permission.
a fucking mean meatloaf.
And there's that whole middle section where basically he can tell that she's gaining a little bit more independence, and that maybe she's not wanting to spend as much time with him, so he writes in, like, she's incredibly clingy, essentially. And then there's that one scene where he lets go of her hand while they're walking down the street to pick up the phone, and she stops walking with him. And he's like, what? And she's like, you let go of my hand.
Ugh.
And then she has a meltdown. She cries in the bed. And then he writes, like, Ruby is fiercely independent. So it's just like every time he writes her one way and then he behaves the way that he, in theory, wants her to behave, he then just has to change it to something else, which is, I guess, the point of the movie is that you can't have those expectations for people, because if you want somebody to be all or nothing, like, that doesn't work.
Yeah, no, that's not a relationship.
Can we talk about the absolute jump scare in this movie? The two
back-to-back
jump scares.
I was so pleased with this. Annette Bening and
Antonio Banderas.
Outstanding.
Wild. Absolutely wild casting in this movie. For not only, so Paul MAYno plays Calvin, and then Calvin's brother is played by the guy from the Mindy Project, and they just don't look even a little bit alike. They didn't even
try.
They're both Caucasian.
Yeah, that's about it.
And that's it.
Yeah, no, and it was so funny because you could tell they, like, tried to make Paul MAYno, like, hot in this movie. Like, that, like, quirky, like, nerdy boy attractive and everything like that, which is, like, the only time you can do that is when you're not trying to make Paul MAYno attractive. Like Okja. He was at his hottest.
I think they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing in Okja.
But they were slick about it.
Yeah, this one, it was trying a little bit too hard for me, but do you know that meme that's going around that's
his sideburns? Ugh.
Oh, the sideburns were so jarring.
It was a lot.
The blonde hair and the sideburns were a lot, but you know that meme right now that it's like a picture of those wireframe glasses and it's like, this is the sluttiest thing a man can wear? It's like one step away from that with those little glasses he has on.
Yep.
I'm like, they really thought they were doing like, the indie boy moment with this. But and then his mom is Annette Bening, which is, like, fucking crazy. The moment she popped up on my screen, I'm like, what fever dream am I in?
I almost didn't clock her, because seeing her, this was the first time I think I'd ever seen Annette Bening with hair past her ears. It was, like, shoulder length. Annette Bening is not meant to have anything other than, like, a chop haircut.
It was about my length of, or, like, I guess both, we had the same hair. It was pretty decently long, because it was kind of curly, too.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Crazy. Yeah, she keeps it tight. She keeps it tight. Not here.
Mm-mm. Oh, no. She was, married or dating Antonio Banderas. Oh my god.
Who
who
was, like, making driftwood furniture.
I was gonna say,
like, it was just...
in the most beautiful house I've ever seen.
Swiss Family Robinson.
Please.
Swiss Family Robinson was this. The ad for, like, Vrbo or, like, Airbnb, the things that they show you, they're like, your weekend getaway is only one click away, and it's that fucking house. And I'm like, that is not in upstate New York. You cannot tell me that that's in Utica. Because I know it's not.
Don't fuck with me right now. Oh my god. Yeah, no, literally, please, someone tell me where that was filmed and where I can book that fucking Airbnb. because I would die to visit that house. It was
stunning.
Insane. Absolutely gorgeous. And Paul Dano's, like, bent on having a bad time there. Like, won't...
Yeah, he's like, I have a difficult relationship with my mother, and she's just, like, smoking weed. Fucking...
Making him dinner, just being a gem. A total gem.
Their house where all the walls are made of plants. Like, what?
Like, how can you be that mad when you're getting so much oxygen straight to the dome?
Right, and she was like, how are you gonna say no to smoking weed with Annette Bening?
You can't.
She's like, come, take a hit. And he's like, no, I'm pissed.
I'd do anything. Anything at all. I don't even smoke weed. It makes me really anxious. I'd do it.
For Annette?
For Annette Bening? Yeah. Easily.
My sleep paralysis demon is gonna be in the corner, and I'm gonna try really hard to ignore it. My sleep paralysis demon in the form of Paul Dano. My sleep paralysis Dano is gonna be in the corner. Hovering.
It's because you know what? I'm gonna look at Annette, and I don't even have to say anything, and she's gonna know where I'm at, and she's just gonna cradle my head softly, give me a forehead kiss, and tell me everything is all right, and then Antonio Banderas is gonna come over with, like, the most gorgeous salad I've ever seen in my life.
I know that man makes a mean salad.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna watch, like, some, like, French film, some, like, old French movie together. This is this is what I want. If you can't tell who I'm gonna choose for Fuck, Marry, Kill already,
yeah.
I think you know.
She gives huge, like, Gwyneth Paltrow, like, yoni egg vibes. Slightly more askew, like, somewhere in between, like, the mom from Sex Education, Gillian Anderson in Sex Education, like, somewhere between her and, like, Gwyneth Paltrow, and then, like, maybe our high school English teacher, Miss Biggs, like,
shout out Miss Biggs. Somewhere in that... Can we get Miss Biggs on the pod?
Oh my god, she would never... She used to let me eat lunch in her classroom. We were a little too close.
She was that English teacher. Meditated.
And I was like that kid.
Yeah, meditated before class. Ugh, love her. But no, you're so right. You're so right about that. In that trifecta.
Triangulated between those three women, that's Annette Bening in this movie. The perfect woman.
Honestly. I die on my hands and knees.
Antonio Banderas is, like, making a bench out of driftwood.
Oh my god, don't get me started.
This was the oasis in the middle of this movie that I really needed to re-pique my interest.
Right.
Like, after watching this man fight with his manic pixie dream girl of his own creation for so long, I simply need a break. And it is in the form of this nice little getaway that they have. Uh-huh. But also with the casting, so his, like, only friend is his brother, who doesn't look anything like him, and his brother's wife, who is clearly not white. Like, she's clearly a person of color, and their baby that they have
white baby.
A white baby.
That's a white baby.
And it's like six different white babies too. If you really pay attention, that's a different baby every time the camera...
I'm like, I know, like, filming laws with infants and all that are, like, kind of tight, but I'm like, the baby's not in the movie for more than 3 minutes. I think they could have squeezed it with just one infant.
Right, but even, like, make it should be not white. There's no...
Oh, no.
Statistically, that baby was too white to come from that person. Like, it made no sense. Mm-mm. That's me being picky, but I was already kind of pissed about the casting of this movie in general. I'm like, this makes no fucking sense. And now you're telling me that white baby came from a not white person? Like, what?
Yeah, come on, be real with me. Ugh.
I don't know, maybe they adopted. Maybe I'm pushing my own narrative onto this,
I don't think
we
so.
don't know. We don't know their story. We don't know what was his name. Harry the brother. We don't know his story.
I guess you're right.
Skittery dinky dinky dink, skittery dinky doo. Oh look, it's Jen coming in for her mid-podcast segment, Chocolate or Vanilla. She floats in from above. She asks us 2 questions. We all just say which one we like better. It's a romp, it's a hoot, it's a holler, it's a great time. Jen, how are you on this lovely evening?
I am so good. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
I'd dare to say great.
We love to hear it. And is there a theme this week?
So there is a theme. Well, it wasn't going to be a theme, but it's the lost episode. So the 4 of us did it with Henry. We did Chocolate or Vanilla when he did, like, Phantom Menace with you guys, and the audio got all messed up. So I've been saving it as a bookmark to sometime,
which is so brilliant.
We have to redo it, yeah, and it's a redo.
This is brilliant.
And on the redo episode, it's a redo chocolate or vanilla.
Wow.
And Jen had no knowledge. I not only moments ago revealed to Jen that we had to redo this whole episode because of drinking issues. So I love that we're doing a lost abandoned chocolate or vanilla for this lost abandoned episode. Wow.
Yep, I've been keeping this one in my back pocket for a while.
You have a secret superstitious intuition, Jen.
I do have a secret superstitious intuition.
You knew something was up.
I do.
You knew something was up.
Spidey senses.
All right, so chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Burger or dog?
Burger.
I think I'm gonna say hot dog.
Okay, I'm gonna go burger.
I just love a good dog.
That is so controversial of you.
I know.
Emily.
It's I don't know, something about it. It's like I think people who like hot dogs really like hot dogs. Like I have to hold myself back a lot from eating a lot of hot dogs because isn't it like that thing like one hot dog takes 20 minutes off of your life or something like that? Yeah.
Is that true? I believe
I'm pretty
it.
sure that's true. Yeah. I love a hot dog.
I think a hot dog is good at a baseball game, for sure.
Like it's good because I can eat it as a meal or I can eat it as a snack.
True.
If you said, "Hey, you want a snack?" and I said, "Yeah," and then you handed me a hot dog, I would get physically aggressive.
See, I think I'd kiss you if you gave me a hot dog as a snack. I'd like fucking tongue someone if they gave me a hot dog as a snack.
Only
See,
if it's
we're
cut up
making
like a
out.
little octopus.
We're making out right now if you hand me a hot dog as a snack.
Next one is eggs Benny or Nutella crepe.
Eggs Benny is my all-time favorite breakfast food. If I'm at a breakfast place that is offering an Eggs Benedict, I am ordering it. It is my number one.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I will never choose anything over an Eggs Benedict. It is, for me, the perfect meal.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Eggs Benedict on this one. It's one of those things that I always want to like. It's been on my list of food to like make for myself for ages. And I haven't hyped myself up for it enough. Maybe sometime soon. I was making jammy eggs the other day and those came out well. So
I'm gonna take the Nutella crepe because sometimes I just like sweet things for breakfast
Fair.
instead of savory.
See, I'm a savory breakfast.
Which I know is I know that's what you said. I think I alternate between
depends
sweet
on the
and
day.
savory. Next one, quesadilla or chimichanga?
Quesadilla, because chimichanga is a lot of work.
I was gonna say
Quesadilla is
love
my
how low
depression meal.
maintenance. It's so low maintenance. You can do it in the microwave and like even like doing it nice and like doing it on a freaking stovetop is easy enough. Like
it takes like 3 minutes, all of 3 minutes to just whoop, little quesadilla. And that's like when I'm depressed and I don't really want to cook for myself, but I know that if I just like eat a handful of shredded cheese from the bag, I'm gonna feel like shit. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna like one step up quesadilla.
yeah, there you go.
I will say same quesadilla for sure. Next one is shrimp scampi or fettuccine alfredo.
Oh, the theme is all foods, right? Because you said
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
you said it was the lost theme. You said it was the lost theme and that we have done it before, but then I just realized that these are all food questions.
Yes, they were all foods.
What's my shrimp scampi or fettuccine alfredo? I'm gonna say shrimp scampi.
Yeah.
I'm a shrimp bitch.
Yeah.
I love a little shrimp.
I love shrimp and fettuccine alfredo is one of those things like it's just a little too heavy for me. You know what I mean? Yeah, shrimp scampi for sure.
Same. I would say the same. Like I like the first couple bites and then I'm like over it.
Exactly.
Too much.
Exactly. Scampi, I'll pound the entire thing though.
Yeah, shrimp scampi for the sweep then for sure. Next one is steak au poivre or coq au vin. So steak with pepper or chicken in wine.
Ooh, I'm gonna say chicken and wine. Coco vin. That just right off the bat. That is. I also am typically more of a chicken bitch than a steak bitch. I don't know, just for like, I can't eat a ton of steak. Like, I feel like steak fills me so fast. I have like 3 bites of steak and I'm like, I'm done. Whereas like, I can eat a whole chicken.
That's fair. Just for tonight, I think I'm gonna say steak. I'm just in more of a steak mood while we do this. And coco vin's one of those ones that I feel like I see people make it and it doesn't like jump out at me. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's chicken and wine. Blech.
Any like
It's
wine,
fine.
butter, like lemon butter wine sauce though. Oh, I love that
See,
shit.
I've been really into like brown butter stuff lately. So easy and it does
Ooh.
so much. Yeah, no, I made ramen the other night and I did like corn and brown butter and put it on top. Oh, it was so good.
That's hot. Do you
It's
bake?
really
Do you
good.
ever bake? Because
No.
I'm not. I don't.
But
like
brown
making ton,
butter
but
cookies, I want to make
Yes.
some brown butter chocolate chip cookies super bad.
I'll send you the
Ooh.
recipe I use is from, I think it's called thegirlwhoateeverything.com.
I love
is
that.
where I get all of my like baking stuff from, and her brown butter chocolate chip cookies are like, I'm not a good baker and I swear by it. Like it's
Word.
they are S tier. And yeah, browning your butter if you're a baker, or if you are interested in baking, I don't know.
So good. But yeah, no, I'll go for steak right now just because.
All right, I'm gonna take the cocoa vin. Next one is filet mignon or Philly cheesesteak.
Ooh, I'm gonna say Philly cheesesteak because I think filet mignon is a little bit overrated as far as like it's the most expensive one on the menu, and I don't think it's the best cut
No.
of steak. Like, to me, the only appeal to me is that it's kind of little. Like, I usually can't finish a whole New York strip or like a ribeye or whatever. Like a filet mignon, I kind of like that's a little bit small because I can't eat a ton. But I fuck with a Philly cheesesteak. I love American cheese. I unapologetically, in the way you love hot dogs, I love American cheese. I love cheese that tastes like plastic, and I want shaved like shitty steakums with melted American cheese on a toasted bun. That
Yeah.
I would pick that over a filet mignon. I think every time. Peppers and onions. Yes.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Something about a Philly cheesesteak, so good. Have you ever had it where, like, you'll go and you put, it's, like, the little colorful, oh my god, they're, like, colorful, Fritos on top of it, almost? To, like, give it a little crunch.
That sounds hot though.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, outstanding. But I'll agree with you on that, Philly cheesesteak.
I'm also gonna take the Philly cheesesteak, but I'm gonna hold the Fritos inside my sandwich. I'll have them on the
Fair
side.
enough.
Are you not a chips in your sandwich kind of gal? That's my favorite thing to do is put the chips in the sandwich. No matter what the sandwich is, I think there needs to be chips on it.
That crunch, you need the texture.
No, I like my chips on the side.
I get that. I kind of alternate. It depends.
So I forgot to ask you guys at the beginning: chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry.
Oh.
I was thinking that it seemed like something was missing, but I just figured maybe there was no triple this week, which would be wild. I was thinking about how fucked up it would be for me to say chocolate the first round and then vanilla in the third round.
I feel that.
Right, like for what reason? That's just inconsistent. But I would never, because that just simply does not track. So I'll say chocolate.
I'll still go for vanilla this week.
Yeah, I will. I'll go chocolate. So chicken piccata, chicken parm, chicken marsala.
Chicken parm. That's my like when I really need like a comfort meal. Henry is an amazing chef and everything he makes me. I am so lucky. I even utter the name of a food that I might be craving and he like makes it for me to perfection with no questions. I'm like, it's been a while since I've had some French onion soup, and he's like, oh, I'm already like caramelizing onions basically. So I'm so lucky, but that is one that I ask him to make for me quite often because his chicken parm is just, it's so good. And I don't know, to me that's such like a good comfort. I love eating it in the dead of winter when it's freezing fucking cold out. Like nothing like warms my bones like a really fucking good chicken parm.
Yeah. Something about like a chicken with a crust on it tops anything else. So I'll have to agree with the chicken parm.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go chicken parm also. Next one is Bobby Flay or Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri, no question. There's a little Funko Pop of him staring at me from my mantle right now. We worship that man in this house. I just I love his energy, and my dream would be to host a show similar to Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, but I do it for like bars, where I go to bars and they make me like the bar food and they teach me how to make the drinks, right? Like that's I want to do my spin-off of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives and do like bars and bars.
Yeah, that sounds ideal. I would tune in.
I love the way, so we watch in my house the Tournament of Champions, which he hosts, and you can just tell that he's friends with every chef. That he's like he has nicknames for all of them, and it's just like very wholesome, and I just love his presence. He like officiated over 100 gay weddings to commemorate his like sister who was a lesbian's death or something. He's always doing cool shit, and I just really like him, and I don't really like celebrity, like, I don't know, performative celebrity shit always feels very performative to me, but I feel like Guy Fieri's a real one, so.
He is a real
Love that
one.
motherfucker, yeah.
I feel like I saw, like, someone, like, asked Kristen Stewart once she got engaged, she was like, would you let Guy Fieri,
officiate your wedding?
Officiate your wedding? And she was like, yes, so I'm really rooting for that. Yeah, obviously it's Guy. He's a saint of a man, it seems.
Yeah, Guy for the sweep, for sure. Next one, fried calamari or fried oysters?
Ooh, fried calamari. I don't fuck with oysters when they're wet, and I don't really see why they need to be fried. Like, I just don't. Oysters as a whole, I just generally stay away from, whereas calamari is one of the S-tier fried seafoods, so.
Yeah. See, my top is clam strips. And oysters don't do it for me. I gotta agree with Dara on that, so it's definitely calamari.
I'll take calamari also, although I do think fried oysters are just like really good fried clams.
But there's something about the little strippy, stringy nature that I do agree with Emily. That the oyster, it's a little much. I'd rather have a scallop. I'd rather have a scallop or a shrimp or you know.
Next one is paella or slow smoked ribs.
Ooh, I think I get to eat really good ribs a lot because Henry's brother, and Henry's dad are all like barbecue guys and all have the ability to make the most phenomenal ribs. Like every time I eat one of their ribs, it's better than the last sort of thing. I think Henry's dad has this book called The Barbecue Bible, which was written in like 1980 that he has given to all of his sons as like a family fucking heirloom, like the Barbecue Bible. So I get to eat good ribs a lot, and I really fuck with some good ribs. Paella, I think I've only had once or twice in my life, and it's like kind of fancy and fun, but it's just not like as much of a staple, I would say. It's like really good ribs.
Yeah, ribs are like something that's really attainable, so I'm gonna choose ribs. I feel like I don't think I've ever had paella, so out of ignorance.
The one time I had it was really, really good, but I will pick ribs also. Dara, is the book one book that gets passed around from brother to brother, or is it they each have their own copy?
I think it's one book that the dad has that he like gives to the brothers when needed, but like then retrieves because it's his barbecue Bible. It's full of cocktails though. Every time I go to that house and they make me something delicious, and I'm like, "Wow, this is so good." They say it's from the barbecue Bible, no matter what it is. Like it's like a good salad. There's a whole cocktail section. One time they made me a cocktail, and I was like, "This is so good." They're like, "Yeah, it's from the barbecue Bible," and I'm like, "Yeah, of fucking course it is." Like,
that's amazing.
Next one is Ted or Anthony?
Oh, from Queer Eye?
Yeah.
And they're both the food
OG
guys.
Queer Eye versus new Queer Eye.
Chopped is a ritualistic viewing experience in the Shanahan household.
I love Chopped.
We loved Chopped. We've always fantasized about hosting a Chopped party, but it's just logistically has never worked out, but it is my fantasy to host a Chopped party. I love that show. It is like such a good comfort show, and I love Ted with all of my heart. Anthony is great too, but just Ted, he is just chef's kiss.
Yeah, Anthony's like
chef's kiss, as in I want to kiss that chef.
Yeah. I think it's so funny that like Anthony's like a little fuckboy sex symbol too, but Ted is my sex symbol.
Yeah,
it's Ted.
Nice. Same. I love them. I love them both, but I'll take Ted. Last one. Tiramisu or creme brulee?
Tiramisu, I think, is my favorite dessert of all time. If I could only eat one dessert for the rest of forever, it would be tiramisu.
See, I think the same thing about creme brulee. I adore creme brulee. Yeah, I just like the smokiness.
And cracking it with the spoon.
It's so...
that sugar layer on the top. I'm with you, creme brulee.
Yeah. It's like cracking my spine. It just releases all the fucking toxins to my brain. It's the same thing.
Well, that's it for the lost episode of the food version of Chocolate or Vanilla.
Jen, your intuition is beyond. I simply cannot believe that you
So
could
in tune with the
sense.
podcast.
But as always, this was stunning. Now I'm very hungry, and I'm like thinking about like what I'm like. I have like half of an ice cream cake in the fridge, and it's just gonna have to make do. Like it's no tiramisu, but it's just gonna have to make do. But as always, Jen, thank you so much for hosting this little segment. We'll try to post them up on our social media on Instagram. It's a little poll thing, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And thank you so much, and we appreciate you, and we love you. But did you know that this is the same director who did Little Miss Sunshine?
I did not.
Yeah, the two. I think they're a husband and wife duo, and I don't know their names off the top of my head, but they did Little Miss Sunshine, and then they did, which came out in, 2006?
Yeah.
And then they didn't make any movies until this. This was their...
Wow. What else have they done?
Yeah,
Is this, or are these like the only movies I know?
In my IMDb glossing over of it, this is my only
these two.
recognized from what they have. But, I mean, I'm sure they have some other, like, indie-type stuff that I've just never seen. But yeah, they did this movie as well. I think it probably through Paul MAYno, because his wife wrote the script, and then they probably gave them the script, and it was like a whole... Because I think it was also some of the producers from Little Miss Sunshine also were on this as well. I might be wrong about that, but... But I love the powerhouse move that Zoe Kazan wrote this movie about the worst kind of fucking toxic man, and she said, you know who's the man for the job?
My boyfriend.
He's down the hall.
Yeah.
Like,
Polly, can you come read the script?
I guess she said that she wrote it super fast. Like, she wrote this in like a few days.
I feel like you could. This is a movie that like writes itself.
Right, it could like pour out of you,
Exactly.
like, so
I'm sure this was like
easily.
I'm sure this was a cathartic experience for her.
Right, I'm sure somebody in Hollywood, because I'm sure like being a woman in Hollywood is hard enough. I'm sure, and then like if you're being typecast in those specific kinds of movies where you have to pretend like it's not bothering you, that the whole narrative of the movie you're in is about like this trope of women that's just like so problematic and like feeding into the trope that the more movies can be made about. I don't know. I wonder if she received any backlash, honestly, from like making this, because it's so apparently criticizing male writers and like male writers who write female characters like this. Like, I wonder if she received any like slack or anything from like the people in Hollywood. Like, if there was like a bar against casting her in rom-coms.
I mean, maybe.
I mean,
well,
she landed The Big Sick, but that was kind of off the beaten path.
Yeah, I've never seen
anyways.
it. It's so funny because originally I was like, oh, I bet the movie that she based this off of was one that she's done, and the only other one I'd seen only sort of rom-com, pixie dream girl sort of thing that I'd seen with her in it was What If with Daniel Radcliffe. But this came out in 2012, and that movie came out in 2013.
Oh, interesting.
Which I just assumed she was writing from experience, which maybe she does have...
Maybe there's also a chance that movie could have filmed before this movie was made.
That's true.
You know the way movies work?
Yeah,
like,
it takes some time. She's also in, I didn't realize this, but she's in Paul MAYno's directorial debut, Wildlife. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, isn't it like her and Jake Gyllenhaal?
It's not her, it's oh god, who the hell is it? And
Michelle Williams?
Yes. No, Carey Mulligan.
Carey Mulligan, they look the same.
Yeah, different, yeah. But she's in that, which I didn't realize, which makes sense. It's Paul MAYno's movie. But yeah, looking at her IMDb page, I'm sitting there, I'm like trying to pinpoint, I'm like, what movie was it?
Who fucked her over and made her write this? I mean, it also could have just been from like observational inspiration.
Yeah,
I'm sure when you're in the biz, you like... but yeah, I wonder what the response to this was, because clearly from what I read, I watched a few interviews from like 2012, and the reporters did not seem to be getting it. They were really treating this like it's a rom-com, and it's not a fucking rom-com. There's nothing romantic
This
about
is a
this
horror movie.
Literally,
This is our first horror movie that we've covered.
We've literally done The Shining.
No, this.
I would rather my husband try to murder me with an axe than him try to fucking control my... Well, if you're trying to get murdered with an axe, the thing he's trying to control is whether you're dead or alive.
Yeah.
But if he's saying, being a person being written by a man, I could never.
No.
If a man wrote me, I would want to be, like the shitty, like, girls that guys like tropes. That when girls are like quote unquote pick me girls and they're like behaving how they want men to want them to behave or whatever. I would want to be like the girl who's really good at pool. Like I drink whiskey and I'm really good at pool, and that's the kind of woman written by a man that I would want to be.
See, I don't think
if I had to pick.
I was gonna say I'm trying to think, because it's like I will never perform for a man ever, but for a woman I will.
But to be a woman written by a woman is just a pleasant experience.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That's just life, baby.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was gonna say housewife. Can I be a housewife? I get to cook.
The dutiful housewife. Only if you make meatloaf, though.
I can make meatloaf. I make a decent meatloaf. I don't put the ketchup on top like that.
Literally,
just nasty.
the concept of meatloaf already skeeves me so hard.
It's pretty good when you want it to be. Like, if have you had meatloaf, or is that like something
not in the past decade?
Yeah, that felt like one thing. It was always like a task to eat when you came down and your mom was making meatloaf and you were pissed.
I always had to smother it in ketchup, and then it was just like you were just eating ketchup.
Yeah, Paul Dano's character does seem like that's the thing that he would just absolutely love. He's like, yeah, Mom used to make this when Dad was still around. And now we eat salads with Antonio Banderas.
But meanwhile, like, the meatloaf was dry and it was a loveless marriage, and now you're eating
Annette Bening was hammered off martinis the entire time. For the entire last year of it.
Now she's ripping the bong and you're having a beautiful kale, blueberry, goat cheese salad prepared by your cool, like...
Stepdad?
I was about to say father-in-law. Oh, stepdad.
I want Antonio Banderas to be my father-in-law. Or just my husband.
I would marry Paul Dano just so I could hang out with his parents.
Do you really think that you could handle him like that?
I could fix him.
I don't know about that. There's a lot of characters that I'll, like, say, like, I could fix them. He's not one of them. He's so beyond me. Did you see, like, shout out to his fucking therapist in this movie.
I was gonna say, his therapist can't even fix him.
His therapist can't fix him. Which, don't get me wrong, I adore my therapist. I want the therapist in this movie to be my therapist.
Does your therapist listen to the pod?
No, she doesn't. I don't think she does. Bestie, if you listen, I love you. I'm just kidding. Like, me and my therapist are a good match. I would never trade her for the world. I just think this guy in this movie is a good therapist. And a lot of men could benefit from having this therapist. Not Paul Dano.
Paul Dano can't. He's not putting in the work. He's not being responsive to the treatment.
No.
He's not pulling his end.
Part of
in therapy, breakthroughs. He's being resistant to these breakthroughs.
Part of therapy is working. And he just feels like he can come in and lay down and cuddle with a teddy bear. And that's it.
He must have really great health insurance then if he's fucking showing up just to take a nap.
Basically. I was gonna say, I do wish I was around, like, that era where, like, mind you, I feel like this was never, like, a real thing, where you go into, like, therapy and you lay on a couch. You know what I mean? Never have I ever gotten to lay down at therapy.
This is not relevant, but I used to get facial acupuncture done.
Ooh.
And, like, in my lips, and, like, almost inside my mouth, and facial acupuncture. And also on other parts of my body as well, like, but primarily in my face. Primarily in my face, and I would lay down, and then you have to just let the needle sit there, and I would go at, like, I don't know, like, the afternoon or whatever, and I would get so sleepy, because you're in, like, a warm room with, like, a humidifier.
Yeah, it's like a massage table. It's like, right?
And, like, yeah, and, like, an oil diffuser next to me, freaking spewing lavender in my face, and I would fall asleep with all the needles on me. I would straight up fall asleep, and then I'd wake up, and I'd go... And it would be so jarring, because I'd be like, I'm gonna fall asleep, and I'm gonna fall off of this table, like in fucking Final Destination, when that person falls off the table with all the acupuncture needles in them and fucking dies, which is not how acupuncture needles work. They're not, they can't kill you like that. But I fell asleep almost every session, and I woke up in a fucking panic every time.
And you can't, like, I feel like you jolt away, you can't move like that, too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
man.
I would, like, wake up in a sweat.
You just have pins in your face.
But I would love to just take a nap at my therapist's office. Just lay down and be like, night-night.
I'm like, can you give me a forehead kiss too?
Can I have my own special Snuggie that you keep in the cabinet? Actually, Paul Dano's therapist is
Kind of a G, yeah.
He's a really famous actor. He was in that show MASH.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's in a lot of other stuff too. I don't know his name. It's like Elliot something. But
yeah,
I also remember being like, this man is in this movie? Like,
right? He's like one of those actors that I know, but I don't like know. Do we want to get into our regularly scheduled programming?
Yes. I would say Fuck, Marry, Kill are clearly Calvin, Ruby, and then who's our third?
I think the
main
brother.
character? The brother? Yeah, so Calvin, Ruby, and then Harry.
I'm going to marry the brother. I'm definitely going to marry the brother. He is the most, like, stable. He's the most, like, real. He was, like, talking with Calvin. He's like, yeah, my wife left me once. She came back. We made it work. Blah, blah, blah. And all that. He's just, like, mind you, yeah, Ruby is not a real person. Ruby was a fictionalized human being, and Calvin is just a terrible man. This is kind of a no-brainer. And so obviously I'm going to kill Calvin. We've talked the entire movie about how he's terrible. Absolutely not. And I'm going to fuck Ruby.
That's a pretty good answer. That's the right answer.
Yeah.
So I'll go rogue and I'll say that I'm gonna marry Ruby, but I want to marry like free Ruby.
Yeah.
Sentient Ruby.
Yeah.
You know, because
like you just put on the page like Ruby and me are married, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Everything else, she's a normal person.
Yeah.
But I don't know. She seems cute. She's reading a book in the park. That seems like the kind of gal I want to be married to, you know, from the one
she can read. This Ruby can read.
Ruby too can read. And I don't want to read Calvin Ruby. I want to read Ruby, or I don't want to marry Calvin Ruby. I want to marry Ruby 2. Ruby 2, she's her own.
Ruby 2 Reloaded.
Ruby 2 Electric Boogaloo married to me. And then I'm gonna fuck Paul Dano, but I'm gonna, like, go about it in a way that, like, he's gonna write a book about it.
Are you gonna peg him?
We'll see.
I feel like that would definitely warrant writing a book.
I'm gonna give Paul Dano some sort of euphoric experience that's gonna change his life, and then I'm gonna flee like a ghost in the night.
Yeah, it's called a prostate orgasm.
Give him prostate orgasm. I'm gonna flee before he can even know what hit him, and then he's
gonna immediately pass out because he's mentally and physically drained. He's gonna pass out and he's gonna wake up to a cold bed.
He's gonna process it in therapy, and then he's gonna write the next great American novel that you're gonna have to read in American Lit class, baby. So that's for that reason, and I'll just kill the brother because
yeah,
there's nothing going on there.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And then out of the whole movie, now we have a breadth of better options.
Oh
here.
my god. Obviously, we're joining Annette Bening and Antonio Banderas' throuple. Like, you can't ask me to choose between them. If I have to, I'll marry Annette and I'll fuck Antonio. And then I will still kill Calvin.
That's super fair.
Yeah. Or maybe I'll kill Calvin's, what is it, his, like, publisher? Or whoever the guy is that, like, he's, like, mad sleazy trying to get Ruby to, like, come skinny dip in the pool with him. Actually, I'll do that.
He was just having a good time. He was a little sleazy.
He's pretty slimy. But, yeah, I'll kill him, and then I'll fuck Antonio and marry Annette. Even though I would rather join their throuple, if I could.
Yeah. That's just the correct option. I guess I'll fuck, what's that actress's name? Who you know her name and I don't know her name, but maybe from Arrested Development.
Oh, Aaliyah Shawkat.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck her.
Yes, love that. Oh, that's so the right answer. I totally forgot about her.
And I love that she was like, so do you do this a lot? Like, meet up for sex in the afternoon? And he's like, dude, I literally thought we were just getting coffee. Like, that was just so funny.
I love that.
And then I'm gonna marry Annette Bening because I want to live in that house with her and Antonio Banderas. I could be their housewife.
Yeah,
I would be their housewife. Mm-hmm. And then I'll kill Calvin because fuck him.
Because he should probably be killed. And we'll tell you what we ate and drank for this.
We drank a cocktail that was a little too good.
Well, it wasn't
even good. It was very drinkable and very high ABV. It was nothing special to the senses, but it came at me hard and fast.
Yeah, because we started the podcast And I was like, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm good. And by like the 20-minute point, we were not good. But it was, so I wanted to find something, because what we did was we made a quote Ruby charcuterie. As mentioned, my sister and my friend and my mom were so graciously said.
We stood at the island while they assembled it.
I was gonna say
we stood and sipped our drinks while they made it in front of us.
They love to host. They're like just those people. I cut a bell pepper. That's the only thing I contributed. But they made a ruby charcuterie board, basically. So like all red things like grapes and cherries and strawberries and things, and it was like a pepper and hummus and like a couple of different cheeses and everything like that, and a grapefruit, of course. Just a couple some mixed mashed sliced meats. Yeah, prosciutto and everything like that. So we had a couple of different options there. It was grand. And for a drink, because I was like, okay, we have a ruby charcuterie board, I'll make a sparkling drink, right? Of course. So I found this one. It was called like Silver Daisy or something like that, and I was like, perfect. It's the same sort of.
That could have been.
It's the same sort of like
name.
It's the same like porn star name that Ruby Sparks is. You know what I mean? Silver Daisy.
Silver Daisy.
My name's Silver Daisy. My name is Ruby Sparks. But so basically it's what is it? Rum. Yes, it's a rum drink, which obviously anyone who's been here long enough knows that we're rum people on this podcast. It's a rum drink, rum and a little simple syrup, lime juice, orange curacao, some bitters, and then you top it off with like a bit of prosecco. So it's like a pretty high ABV. It's like 2.5, 3 shots of like alcohol, and then like top that with prosecco. And it's like it doesn't taste amazing. It mostly tastes like prosecco. You can't taste the rum. It tastes a little orangey. Like it's not like a cocktail that I'd be like, "Oh, wow, like I have to like remember this one." But it'll stick around in my memory now.
To me, it was kind of like just like flat ginger ale almost, or like kind of just like a nondescript like fizzy drink. But they were so easy to pound, and boy, did I pound them a little too fast. Because
I was gonna say, I was like, I'm pacing.
Here we are.
Well, because it was like we said, it took us like 3 hours to watch this movie. I thought I was on track. I was like 1 drink an hour. I'm good. Wrong.
But 1 drink was like
3 drinks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking to get hammered to watch this movie, I would highly suggest that. Or any other sparkling drink. I know that and I think you also really enjoy a French 75.
Yes.
Yeah, really super easy. It's like vodka and lemon juice and prosecco, basically. And it's a lovely little cocktail. But yeah, anything sparkling, and yeah, I think do a fun little red charcuterie board. You could do some desserts.
Eat meatloaf.
Don't eat meatloaf.
God,
do not eat meatloaf. You're a sick fuck if you eat meatloaf for this movie. Make like a fruity like a fruit and dessert charcuterie board kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We had cheese because we're cheese people here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like a little red velvet cake kind of thing. Some strawberries, some cherries, whatever you want, and then so like a fizzy drink.
Yeah, I personally don't care for grapefruit.
No.
I don't like it really as a fruit, and I also definitely don't really like grapefruit juice in my cocktail. Like, if it's given to me for free, like I'll just drink it.
I was gonna say, but
by choice, it's
the last time, because looking up like drinks for this, I was like, we have to avoid grapefruit, because the last time we had grapefruit was, I think it was for But I'm a Cheerleader, and it was
trash.
Awful. It was a shady lady, and it was not what we were looking for, even in the slightest.
But to do ruby grapefruit for if you want to,
it makes sense.
Do a grapefruit drink.
If you like grapefruit, go for it. Do some sort of grapefruit drink, not a shady lady, but whatever else tickles your fancy. I
feel like I always say wine, but this is this really could be like a wine movie for sure.
Yeah.
Easy. But I clearly loved what we were eating and drinking because I was being very indulgent. But I do love that we did a ruby charcuterie board and a sparkling drink. Very cute, very on theme. I couldn't come up with anything better. Except for maybe she's just making breakfast at one point in her underwear. So if you want to have, like, breakfast or dinner, like, do French toast.
Yeah.
Maybe do, French toast with cut up fruit on it or something. Like, that's... that. But we lived the best Ruby Sparks eating and dining experience.
Yeah,
eating and dining? Eating and dining?
I would recommend what we did. There's a handful of times that I'm like, you could have done it better. I'd say this was a pretty good one. Mind you, we say charcuterie board a lot, but, like, this is a specific charcuterie board.
Yeah. This is red, like a red charcuterie
Get
board,
creative with
which
it.
is so easy. You know how many kinds of cured meats are red?
All of it.
them.
There you go. Yeah.
Prosciutto, salami, pepperoni.
Yeah.
Run it. And then what would you follow this up with?
It took me a minute to think of this. And it was because this man had, like, obviously, like, you can't write your own significant other or whatever, but he had, like, it all in the palm of his hand. He could have, like, done it. You know what I mean? But it was the most toxic relationship. But I decided to sort of flip it on its head. I'm like, what's, like, the weirdest relationship that works? I'm going to tell you to watch The Shape of Water. A woman and her fish boyfriend. Why not? It is the very opposite of this movie.
When a man writes a woman, it's Ruby Sparks. But when a woman writes a man, it's a fish. He's a fish. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. When she feeds him the eggs, that's the kind of romance that women yearn for, you know? Like, men yearn for, like, we're gonna dive into a pool with all of our clothes on because she is so spontaneous. Women are like, I want to cook him an egg, and he will love it.
Exactly.
My fish boyfriend. My favorite part of... I don't really care for that movie too much, but I love the point where she, like, describes his fish penis in sign language to Octavia Spencer. That tickles me so hard. She's like...
I know you have a couple of options.
Yes, so my suggestion is that you do a little trifecta. You do the Zoe Kazan, Paul Dano, Daniel Radcliffe trifecta of films.
This is so good.
So you get this movie with Zoe Kazan and Paul Dano. Then you get What If with Daniel Radcliffe and Zoe Kazan. And then you watch Swiss Army Man with Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano. And I wonder if they've, like, had dinner parties. Like, I wonder, do they hang out?
Have they all explored each other's bodies? Like,
Have they?
That's like a lot like Paul Mescal and Phoebe Bridgers and also Daisy Edgar Jones. Like, have you seen them all hanging? I'm like, those two were in a movie together, and now, like, it's Paul and Phoebe Bridgers. I'm like, they've definitely had a threesome. I would like to think the same for these three.
Right, but so I think watching those three in whatever order you so please, honestly, I would end with Swiss Army Man.
Yeah,
though.
I think you start with What If,
and then you do this one, and then you do,
yeah.
And then what would you rate this out of 10? I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
I'll give it a solid 6. I think I would have liked it better if I watched it all the way through, but we took some liberal breaks in the middle of it, probably to make more cocktails.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it, and I'm not saying it's a rom-com, it's not a rom-com, but I'm not a huge rom-com person, and as this being, like, a direct satire on the rom-com genre, I just, you know, like, I get it, and it was good, and I enjoyed it.
I appreciated it for what it was.
That whole, like watching a couple fight for more than 3 lines of dialogue just, like, makes, I
just want to watch a movie with Annette and Antonio. Give me their movie.
Right.
I just want to watch them for an hour and a half, sit down and smoke weed, and just have, like, a nice, fun conversation.
A nice chat while he, like, whittles.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna whittle me something. Whittle me a scrimshaw.
She cuts up an apple and peanut butter in the middle of it.
But yeah, this was our end to Paul MAYno month. Thank you for all who tuned in. Like we said, if there's any future interest, if you'd like to buy the horrible hour-long video I have of us, like, sitting on a couch like this, like, not really very coherent.
Yeah, my dog came into the picture at one point.
Wait, I don't know if this will... My cat Winston is being so...
Oh, what a guy.
But this will also be promo for anyone who's listening. Go subscribe to our YouTube. We are trying to be a more visual podcast, so we're videoing it now. We're putting it up on YouTube, or even if you're just a listener on, you know, the regular Spotify, Apple Podcast, go give us a subscribe. You know, why not? You might want to pop in every once in a while.
Yeah.
So the link to that will be in the description below, and likewise for all of our other listening platforms, all of our social medias. Definitely slide in with month themes, movie suggestions, chocolate or vanilla ideas, all of that good stuff. We've got merch as well. So if you do want to support the pod, you cannot buy our drunk Ruby Sparks episode, but you can buy some swamp-themed booty shorts. So go do that, check them out. And this has been Paul MAYno month, and thank you so much for tuning in. And next month, Pride Month, we are super excited to dive into some sexual awakening, queer sexual awakening movies is our theme for Pride Month. So we'll definitely keep your eyes peeled on our social media. We'll be running some polls about what all of you listeners' queer sexual awakening characters are. I'm so excited to hear. This is like one of my... like, what cartoon character did it for you? Like, a little too much as a kid kind of thing. So that'll be our theme for next month. So if any of you have any, you know, suggestions or thoughts on that, definitely feel free to DM us. But we'll definitely be running some polls. And we're definitely really excited for that. And next week we'll be covering Pirates of the Caribbean. We've done it already. It's the past. Podcasting meta. This is getting really... But next week, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one. So we'll be doing that. So
diving into Keira Knightley's effect.
Her wet nightgown. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And thank you all for listening as always. And goodbye and good night.